Kevin. He's a Chelsea fan. Wants to talk about Harry Kane. What do you want to say, Kevin?
Hello, mate. Yeah, great show as always.
Cheers.
I'm just but if I want to leave my job, I can leave. I can put in a request. I can leave. I think behind the scenes, Levy's obviously said something to Harry Kane, which has forced his hand, so to speak. I mean, we all know that Daniel Levy is a tough negotiator, and he doesn't get walked over, and he wants the best money that he can squeeze out of a stone. So that's kind of why I think that he's been forced to push for the move, if you know what I mean.
Look, it's interesting. I just find it difficult, Kevin, to accept that towards the end of that season, Harry was giving the impression that it will probably get done. He's got something in his contract, or he's got something that he can fall back on and rely on that can force and that can initiate a move. If it's the shake of a hand, that ain't enough.
Do you know what? I got the impression from that Gary Neville interview that Harry Kane was basically saying, look, I have a love affair with the fans here. I love this football club. It's been very good to me, but I've been very good to them. Let's do this in a decent, professional manner, because I think it's about time I moved on at the age of, he's now 28.
By the way, can I just say something? Can you imagine Harry Kane, right? Imagine you're him he's in his prime years, he's in his best years. He leads the line for his country. He scores. He's an amazing goal scorer. Imagine being at Spurs when they got to the cup final last season and they sacked the manager the week before the final. And with respects to Ryan Mason, they place a young man like him in the hot seat. If you're Harry Kane, you're the guy that all of a sudden you're in your prime years, the best days of your footballing life. Something like that happens on your doorstep. I tell you what, that does sharpen your focus.
You would question whether the club is being run in the way you run your career.
Well, you would then start to say to yourself, I know what I need to do. I need to go. I need to get out. Now, if what Harry was saying at the back end of last season, he felt that might be enough to initiate a softening of Daniel Levy and potentially a way to make this transfer happen a little bit smoother and easier, he's mistaken. It's only City's hard cash that's going to actually force it over the line, or Harry Kane's going to have to be a completely different individual to the one that we see and the one that we watch and the great pro that he is. He's going to have to go down another road, and that is not easy to do.
He's going to have to turn into Pierre Van Hooijdonk, isn't he? Really?
Do you remember that one? Where did he go?
He went on strike. Did he go to Portugal? I can't remember. From Forest. He went on strike, didn't he? I think that the tipping point was remember when Nuno, a couple of weeks ago, came out and said, Harry Kane is our player, period. So clearly Nuno had gone to Levy and said, well, what do you want me to say about Harry Kane? They're going to ask me. What do you want me to say about him?
Of course.
And Levy has basically said, well, he's our player. And so the manager has had to say that because the man who's paying his wages has told him to say that. That creates a gulf between manager and player. It's untenable in many ways.
Got a tweet here from Stu. Says Liverpool sold Coutinho, right? And they spent that money very wisely and ended up winning a Premier League title. That can happen. That is what
if
can
you run
happen.
right. Yeah.
If you do it properly, if you do your business. I've always liked the way Liverpool do their business early. They like to get their boys in. Right, as soon as one season's finishing, bang! All of a sudden, someone's walking through the door. I like the way they do that.
Sensible.
But again, Mr. Levy has got this reputation for being the toughest kind of wheeler dealer negotiator out there, and I think he plays up to that a bit. I think he likes that reputation. So because of that, he wants to protect that. There is no way Harry Kane's walking out for a fiver less than what the manager, what the owner, chairman.
He's got history of that as well. John's a Spurs fan. What do you think, John?
Hi there, chaps. It's just a mess, isn't it? Everything about it is a mess. I absolutely, like most Spurs fans, like every Spurs fan I know, were completely accepting of the fact that Harry Kane wanted to play elsewhere to win trophies, and we were all pretty much like disappointed and despondent about it, but conscious that is a reasonable thing for a man of his skill and talent and brilliance to want to do. But the reality is as soon as you down tools, no matter what's been going on behind the scenes, no matter what promises have been made, no matter how much Daniel Levy has completely, as one of you said earlier on, shafted him, the fact is if you down tools, the perception will be from outside of the club that it's you, that you're petulant, that you have a problem. And the issue here is, of course, they may have had an agreement which was basically give it a full season with Mourinho. He's a great manager, apparently. See what happens with him. And then, yes, you'll be free to speak to teams should a reasonable offer comes in. But the reality is that when that conversation happened a year ago or 18 months ago or whenever, neither Harry Kane nor Daniel Levy would have any awareness of what the market is saying at this point in time. So the market is saying, if you're going to spend 100 million quid on Jack Grealish, as brilliant as that player is, you cannot be expecting to get Harry Kane with his experience on still got 3 years in his contract for anything close to 100 million. I think all that money is completely ridiculous, but that's the reality of the situation. So I think Kane has been poorly advised, genuinely, by apparently his brother. I think he could have absolutely come in to training on the day. He should have had a chat. He should have said, look, what's the deal? I'm sure his people would have been spoken to by representatives of Man City as an indication as to how much they're willing to spend. He wouldn't be doing this without, not knowing that anyone's interested in buying him. So, of course, he's aware of something that's going on behind the scenes. But then if the club say, no, we're not going to stick to our gentleman's agreement, you're our player and you're sticking here for 3 years, then he hands in a transfer request and he makes it public and he says, I love the club, I love the fans, but I want to move on. That's why I've handed in a transfer request. But that's 10 times better than just not turning up for training, right?
Simon, you make some really good points, but handing in a transfer request will still not force any issue. It will only pile more pressure on Harry Kane if he has to come back and pull the white shirt on once again and lead the line for Spurs. If he's put a transfer request in and it doesn't happen and the transfer doesn't go through, then he puts himself under even more scrutiny and pressure from his own supporters. Life will not be comfortable. I'm not saying you can have it always up. You can't. If you want to move, you've got to force it a bit. You have to do something at some point, to get it over the line. But transfer requests still doesn't make the difference. It's not a game changer in terms of getting this deal done. It's Man City's hard pound notes that are going to make it happen.
And Kane, I think, early in the summer, before the Euros, when he said that he wanted it all done before the Euros, I think he was trying to do it in a nice way. And not every party in this is doing it in a nice way. So he's had to drag himself down to their levels. I'm not saying he's right to do what he's done today. If we find out the full story and it's different, then that changes things. One word on downing tools. Mahrez down tools at Leicester, didn't he? And he got the move to Manchester City. So I think sometimes you just have to do that to make it happen. Man City won't.
When you say down tools, what do you mean by down tools? What are you saying? Just
made it clear, and I think he was
couldn't be bothered. His performances would all of a sudden just indicate you don't want to know.
Mahrez had to stay another 6 months? I think he had to stay, or another season he had to stay. But he wanted to go, and there was a standoff, and then he played for Leicester. Some of the fans might tell you he didn't play as well as he had before, but he would say he was 100% professional. But there was a period where he was like, hang on a minute. You've let Kante go, you've let this guy go, you've let him go. How about me? So, and I can understand all those players in the past that have left Spurs, and here's Harry wanting to leave after giving
Harry's seen Kyle Walker go. Yeah. He's now seen Alderweireld go. Saw Vertonghen go. Danny Rose has gone. All that brilliant back four that they had. He's seen a lot of those boys leave, and amongst a lot of others.
Drive on talkSPORT with WeBuyAnyCar.com. There's now over 375 branches nationwide. Find your closest now.